and WXLE in Indian Lake. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning. This is Northern Light for Friday, August 25th. I'm Monica Sandreski. Todd's back on Monday. Governor Kathy Hochul addressed New York City's migrant crisis in a statewide speech, saying she's asked the Biden administration for working papers for asylum seekers. Also on the show, the largest known eastern white pine was recorded in the southern Adirondacks.
It's just incredible to be seeing all these large stems just going on forever and ever, basically. You know, it was just this incredibly lush environment.
The tree, nicknamed Bigfoot, is about as tall as the Statue of Liberty, and we'll take a peek coming up. Also, this afternoon is the second annual Pickled Pink Pickleball Tournament in Potsdam to benefit the Governor Breast Cancer Fund.
There's something about pickleball that brings out the best in people, and I don't know what it is, but the sportsmanship, the camaraderie, there's a collegiality that goes along with it, and that makes it great.
And John Warren checks trail conditions for us in the Adirondacks this weekend on this last weekend in August. All of that and more is coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from the Depot Theater Westport, a professional equity theater in the Adirondacks celebrating its 45th season, depottheater.org. And by the Adirondack Foundation, helping people and families build a legacy of generosity for the Adirondacks, adirondackfoundation.org. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski. Governor Kathy Hochul delivered a statewide address yesterday about the migrant crisis in New York City. Hochul said she sent a letter to President Joe Biden calling on him to take executive action and direct additional federal resources to the state. Among other things, Hochul wants to see expedited work authorizations for asylum seekers so they can be placed in jobs that have been unfilled for too long. She says she's ordering the Department of Labor to proactively connect asylum seekers with potential employers.
For me, the answer to these two crises, this humanitarian crisis and our workforce crisis, is so crystal clear and common sense. Let them get the work authorizations. Let them work legally. Let them work.
More than 100,000 migrants have traveled to New York City over the last year, straining food and shelter resources in the city. Other cities upstate have passed states of emergency to prevent the migrants from being sent to these communities. Hochul said the right to shelter mandate is unique to New York City.
This is an agreement that does not apply to the state's other 57 counties, which is one of the reasons we cannot and will not force other parts of our state to shelter migrants.
In a briefing after Hochul's speech, Department of Labor Commissioner Roberta Reardon said the department will work on matching asylum seekers with potential employers before their work authorizations come in.
When that paper arrives, the minute they get their authorization, we can begin to make those introductions so that employers can pull the lever and employ those people as quickly as possible.
Governor Hochul's letter to the president also asked for financial assistance for New York City and the state, the use of federal land as temporary shelters, and federal funding for National Guard members providing operational support statewide. Governor Hochul also met with leaders of the Onondaga Nation near Syracuse this week. Hochul said it was the first time in over 50 years that a current governor of New York had visited the Onondaga Nation, part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Last year, New York State returned more than 1,000 acres of land to the Onondaga Nation. Onondaga leader Sid Hill said it was, quote, a long overdue recognition of the need to reverse the environmental degradation of the land and waters that have sustained our people long before the European settlers first arrived. Hochul said they discussed how the government of New York and the Onondaga government can collaborate through investments in healthcare and in education. A new exhibit at the State Fair wants to get consumers better acquainted with food they eat that's grown in New York State. WRVO's Ellen Abbott reports from the Voice of the Farmer exhibition.
Several raised beds dot a grassy patch of land at the fair. Some bright orange nasturtiums here, yellow marigolds there, and beans, corn, and squash sharing another bed. And what does State Agriculture Commissioner Richard Ball want you to do as you wander among the plants?
Touch it, smell it, ask questions about it, most importantly.
Kathleen Copoletti of the Cornell Cooperative Extension is one of the volunteers who will be able to talk to fair visitors about what they see. And she hopes they take some of what they learn home.
Container gardening is very important right now. Not everybody has a yard, but they want to grow container garden or grow tomatoes in a 5-gallon container on their patio. We'll show them how to do it properly.
While the Voice of the Farmer program is limited to some raised beds for now, it's expected to expand. Ball says officials are devising plans in the future for a huge greenhouse that will be open to fairgoers and also benefit the community.
We'll be having some crops grown in there that will benefit the fairgrounds and make them beautiful. But we also see this as an opportunity to feed some of the population in Syracuse. Urban gardening, urban farming is a great way of connecting dots for people that need access to food.
In Syracuse, I'm Ellen Abbott for North Country Public Radio.
The Great New York State Fair runs through Labor Day outside of Syracuse. The eastern white pine is native to North America. It can be found from Newfoundland to the Appalachian Mountains. Historically, it's been heavily logged. The Adirondack Park is one of the few places you can find tall, old white pines. Earlier this summer, the largest known eastern white pine was recorded in the southern Adirondacks. The tree, nicknamed Bigfoot, is about as tall as the Statue of Liberty without the pedestal and wider than a hockey goalpost. Amy Feiereisel reports.
Eric Danielson is a tree hunter. Tree hunting is the act of looking for and measuring trees, especially big ones. It's a niche community that mostly stays connected online in a group called the Native Tree Society.
Since it's such a small community, you show up and you're interested and you start doing the stuff, you get a lot of encouragement and a lot of pointers.
Danielson lives in Gary in Western New York and works as a naturalist for the Western New York Land Conservancy. He currently has 2 trees in the New York State Big Tree Register and has actually worked to certify trees on the American Forest's National Champion Tree List. Tree hunters find trees by walking through the woods and digging through historic documents. They also use high tech, NASA satellites, aerial imagery, and LiDAR, a laser imaging system. They'll create canopy height models using that data. Danielson said average canopies will show up as dull colors on the computer.
Taller heights, you get into your bright yellow, bright red, bright blue, bright green.
In the past, Danielson said he and other tree hunters mostly focused on the eastern Adirondacks. That's because the western Adirondacks has less sheltered terrain, with windstorms more likely to fell tall trees.
So it's just kind of on the back burner in my mind.
Then Danielson saw a random photo pop up in his Facebook feed.
This fellow named Matt Kane posted a photograph of this really large white pine that he was standing next to.
He reached out to Kane and started doing imagery work, which suggested that this area in the Moose River Plains Wild Forest had a lot of tall white pines. Meanwhile, Kane did some historical digging and found an old commissioner report, which he sent to Danielson.
And they wrote in this 1902 report about this area of unlogged original pine that at that point would have been one of the very last, large tracts of old growth white pine in the Adirondacks.
Danielson took some time off work and hit the road. He was especially excited because due to logging and windstorms, stands of old-growth white pines are pretty rare and pretty small.
They're like 10 acres, 15 acres, 20 acres. So honestly, on my way in there, I was, am I really going to find a 550-acre old-growth white pine stand?
Danielson arrived on July 6th and started by bushwhacking towards the tallest canopy in his virtual model. He didn't find just one tall white pine. He found one, and then another, and then another.
It was just incredible to be seeing all these large stems just going on forever and ever, basically. It was just this incredibly lush environment.
Danielson believes the trees are around 300 years old, and he has a theory for why this area has survived windstorms for centuries. There was a series of parallel ridges and hollows. That's where he found the tall old pines.
A lot of them, they showed damage to their crowns, but they didn't come down, in part because they're in those hollows, but also the soil is full of huge boulders. And where you do see a tree tip up, you'll see its roots are wrapped around great big boulders.
He spent hours exploring this majestic, ancient forest.
I came to this spot and I thought to myself, I should peek around the edge of this ridge that's right above me. As I come around the ridge, I look over and I see, just the shape of this really large looking trunk through the woods.
So he headed for it.
It keeps on getting bigger and keeps on getting bigger. And I'm starting to realize that I'm further away from it than I think. And I finally get to it. And I immediately know, this could be the largest that I've measured.
It was over 16 feet in circumference. To get the height, Danielson had to hike up a tall ridge so his tools could get a clear shot. It was 151 feet tall.
That did mean that it was going to qualify as the New York State champion white pine tree.
The champion tree system is used nationwide to rank trees. It gives points for certain characteristics like height and girth. Danielson returned 2 days later with more special equipment to measure the volume of the tree. He'd noticed it didn't taper much. It stayed thick as it climbed towards the sky. Bigfoot is 1,450 cubic feet. That makes it the largest eastern white pine by volume that's been recorded. But Danielson says what he really treasures was getting to experience that old-growth white pine forest.
The sheer quantity of moss and lichens and liverworts and things like that. The layers and layers of down woody debris and various stages of decay, the way the light comes through.
Danielson says since Bigfoot, he's been getting lots of tree tips that he and members of the Native Tree Society want to investigate. He's also part of a tree ring research lab and has his own project looking for small but old trees in the swamps of Western New York. He says finding champion trees isn't really the point.
That's a fun part, but it's not really the bigger point, which is to, document these and sort of take stock of these special natural resources that we have, what they mean, what they're doing for us, and how to best protect them. And we really, it's harder to protect things that you don't know are there.
So Danielson intends to keep looking. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
Eric Danielson and a photographer named Brian Kelly are currently working on a book about New York trees. Bigfoot will be featured. Danielson says they're looking for tree tips, stories, and suggestions. You'll find more information on how to contact them in our online story at ncpr.org. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:13. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up, we'll hear how these scattered storms in the forecast will impact the trail conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. That's coming up right here on Northern Light, which is supported by St. Lawrence Health, offering My Care, a way for patients to access health information and stay connected to their care team. Registration is available at stlawrencehealthsystem.org, and by CCOM Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northeastern New York and Vermont, in person, online at ccom.org, and on your smartphone. Music now by Hank Soto out of Stony Creek. A dam in Hamilton County that protects the Hudson River communities from flooding will be getting some necessary improvements starting this fall. The Indian Lake Dam was completed more than 100 years ago in 1898, and it doesn't meet modern safety standards. DEC Commissioner Basil Sagos said the improvements will help the dam withstand flooding and other weather-related stresses caused by climate change. A contracting company based in the city of Troy will be taking on the rehabilitation project, which will cost almost $11 million. Construction will likely begin in October. This afternoon is the second annual Pickled Pink Pickleball Tournament to benefit the Governor Breast Cancer Fund. There will be music, food, and drinks starting at 3 o'clock at the Sandstone Pickleball Courts in Potsdam. Registration is still open. It's $35 a player. Pickleball sessions start at 1, 4, and 7. And players are encouraged to show up early and wear pink. Last year's tournament raised $4,000 to support people in the North Country living with cancer. And our reporter Lucy Grindon was there and produced this story.
The courts here at Sandstone Park are crowded with people. Pickleballs are flying everywhere. On one of the center courts, Sean Partridge and 3 others are getting in the zone.
Oh, we're just warming up, getting ready for our next game.
After they hit the ball back and forth for a bit, it's time to play for real.
All right, I'm ready when you guys are. Okay.
Pickleball is kind of like miniature doubles tennis. It's played on a small court with a net, but players use paddles instead of rackets and plastic balls instead of tennis balls. Didi Skozafava is watching the action courtside. She helped put this night together. She's also a former state assemblywoman. She's still a little bit glowy from playing in the first round. She usually plays closer to home.
We started up in Governor. We now have 3 courts, 2 with nets. We're working on getting the 3rd net, but we've gone from, I'd say, a few beginners, and now we're up to 13, 14 people that are playing.
So it seems to me like pickleball is really sweeping the North Country. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we're always a little bit behind the curve. It's actually taken off in a big way nationally, but I think just people love it because it's fun to play, it's easy to play, it's great. And I have to say, there's something about pickleball that brings out the best in people. And I don't know what it is, but the sportsmanship, the camaraderie, there's a collegiality that goes along with it, and that makes it great.
A real pickleball community is springing up in the North Country. On Facebook, the North Country Pickleball Group has 394 members. But tonight, people are here for more than just community and friendly competition. In between serves, I interrupt Sean Partridge again. Why did you come out to play pickleball tonight?
Tonight, because it's a good cause, first and foremost.
That cause is clear everywhere you look. Most pickleballs are yellow, but tonight, the balls bouncing on these courts are bright pink. That's because this is the first ever pickleball fundraiser for the Governor Breast Cancer Fund. 56 people have signed up to play, with entry costing $25 per person. There are elimination rounds and gold, silver, and bronze medals. There's even a beer truck from a local brewery and a raffle for donated prize baskets. Paige Todd and her older brother Decker are in charge of picking the winning raffle tickets.
It looks like a bee. No, I think that's Dylan.
Right now, they're trying to read the name on the last ticket they pulled.
Oh, this person is very lucky. You're amazing. Did I win?
Are you Robin?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you won again.
The winner of this basket is Robin Glass from Lisbon, New York. This is her first time at a pickleball fundraiser, but she goes to the Governor Breast Cancer Fundraising Walk every year.
In fact, I started doing that walk 15 years ago, the year before I got breast cancer.
So what does the Governor Cancer Fund mean to you?
I really love the Governor one because those ladies, it's all local money that stays local. They'll help you to get a ride to go back and forth to treatment. They'll help you to offset your co-payment for your pills. You know, I know my first month, my co-payment alone for my meds, my first month of treatment was like $276. That was my co-payment.
Glass says she's seen about 150 people at the tournament tonight altogether.
I think it's wonderful that they support a good cause. It helps a lot of people and it makes a big difference. Big difference.
Teresa Fisher organized this tournament. She says pickleball was a natural choice for a fundraiser.
It's just a great sport because everyone can play.
It doesn't matter your ability level, and it's just a fun time for everyone. Good stuff. Just good stuff. And you know what? Good stuff generates good stuff.
In this case, that good stuff is $4,000 raised that'll go directly to support people here in the North Country who are living with cancer. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio, Potsdam.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 20 after 8. I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up in just a minute, John Warren checks trail conditions for us in the Adirondacks this weekend. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note. Found in the Sierra Madre, the Arizona woodpecker has a special connection to the mountain range. We'll hear more about it coming up at 8:42. First, we got to take a peek at the weather. Last check, it was 63 degrees in Chateauguay, 62 in Newcomb, 65 degrees in Alex Bay, and 65 degrees in Boonville. Can expect some cloudy skies, some rain showers, scattered rain showers likely throughout the region today and overnight tonight. Highs really capping off in the lower 70s today. Overnight tonight, isolated storms are possible down in the southern Adirondacks. But some scattered rain showers possible throughout the region with lows around 60 degrees. And tomorrow, a chance of storms throughout much of the region or rain showers with highs around 70 degrees expected. But for a look at how that impacts trail conditions in the Adirondacks, here's John Warren with the New York Almanac.
Sunrise will be at a little after 6 a.m. and sunset a little before 8 p.m. There will be a chance of showers through the weekend. Be prepared for muddy trails. Summer temperatures will be mostly in the lower 50s. Water levels are well above normal for this time of year, with some stream crossings difficult and others may be impassable. Plan extra time and alternative routes in the event you encounter impassable water crossings. The Hudson River is forecast to be at about 4 feet at the gauge in North Creek this weekend, and the Racket River a little over 8 feet at Piercefield. Lake Champlain remains at about 98 feet on the gauge above Whitehall. Water temperatures are mostly around 70 degrees, though some have fallen into the upper 60s. Mirror Lake has been about 70 degrees this week, about the same temperature as most of Lake George and Lake Champlain. The Town of Keene Hiker Shuttle will begin running this weekend. The shuttle typically runs from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. between the Marcy Field parking area and the Garden Trailhead, with access to the Great Range, Mount Marcy, Big Slide, the Brothers, and more. The cost is $10. And finally this week, the owners of the land, which provides access to the Chimney Mountain Trailhead in the Siamese Ponds Wilderness, have announced that they are closing their land to public access. The public trail to the summit, which features unique geological features, is on state land, but the access road and parking area at the trailhead are on private land. Hiking to the summit is still possible, but now requires an additional mile or more of rugged bushwhacking on state land to reach the trail. Check the DEC info locator map for boundary lines in order to stay on public property. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.
If you're up for braving the rain, Jeff Manns with the Glens Falls Saratoga chapter of the Adirondack Mountain Club does have a recommendation for a hike this weekend. He's a big fan of the area near Scroon Lake and loves the history of the mountains there. He suggests you try the Three Peaked Hills near Hoffman Mountain.
You go in, you kind of follow an old woods road, and then that is also a bushwhack, and you're following streams, and you can see some old logging roads, and there's an old cast iron logging camp stove that's there. There's lots of places that you can go around there where there's a lot of remnants from when logging was prevalent in the Adirondacks. You'll see cables, you'll see cast iron stuff, you'll see stoves. So you know that you're walking in areas and traveling in areas that other people have been before. And they offer in their own way, maybe not as expansive views as you'll find in the Adirondack High Peaks, but there's lots of really nice views and pretty scenery. And just like from Jones Hill, it's a fairly moderate, easy hike. And you're looking at Hoffman, but you're also looking north past Hoffman, and you're looking at the Dix Range, like Macomb. It's great to get out there. There's really a lot there in that area in Schroon Lake and in Blue Ridge and Boreas. And there's a lot to do that I haven't even done yet, but you can only do one at a time.
If you're looking for a guided hike, he suggests checking out the Adirondack Mountain Club, which has a few upcoming outings. You can find out more at adk.org. This weekend, don't forget the Frederick Remington Art Museum will be hosting an appraisal day this Saturday. That's tomorrow from 10 to 2. Dust off your treasures and bring your favorite family heirloom to the Remington Art Museum for an appraisal. Just costs $5 for single items. You can find out more from the Frederick Remington Art Museum. Or you could always just head to the Swing Cats Ball. This weekend, jazz singer Catherine Russell is performing at Cafe Lena. She's performed with Wynton Marsalis and David Bowie. You can find her tomorrow in Saratoga Springs. This is her song, At the Swing Cats Ball.
Do not forget to come to the party tomorrow night at the Swing Cats Hall. Come on and let them set your body at the Swing Cats Ball. Park Avenue will be represented tomorrow night at the Swing Cats Hall. Come on, folks, and make yourself contented at the Swing Cats Ball. John Kelso making that trumpet moan. John O'Red on that slide trombone. Then all the cats will start and swing it tomorrow night at the Swing Cats Hall. You can't refuse to join in singing at the Swing Cats Ball. Set for the party tomorrow night at the Swing Cats Hall. Come on, let them set your body at the Swing Cats Ball. No time to lose, please don't be tardy. Tomorrow night at the Swing Cats Hall. Get in the groove with everybody at the Swing Cats Ball. You know, some will lag while others drag. Some will bump while others jump. Park Avenue will do their swinging at the Swing Cats Hall. You can't refuse to join in singing at the Swing Cats Ball. Yeah! Well, I know you folks are having a ball. The cats are really swinging all around the hall. So long, folks, I'm gonna dig you, Jack. The band will keep playing and I'll be right back.
Catherine Russell at the Swing Cats Ball. She's for this jazz singer. Whoop, she's got a lot to say. She's performing this weekend tomorrow. She's got 2 shows tomorrow night at Cafe Lena in Saratoga Springs. You can find out more from cafelena.org. Music signals. It is the end of the show. Morning Edition continues in just a minute. Then stick around for the Marketplace Morning Report coming up between 8:51 And 9 o'clock, the fast food sandwich chain Subway is being sold to a private equity firm in a deal reportedly worth $10 billion. We'll take a look at what's in store for Subway's new owners. Let's get caught up on all the morning's business news just ahead at 8:51. I'm Monica Sandreski. Hope you have a good weekend. It's 8:30.